Welcome to Recently Logged, where this time, it's war.
Hello.
Hey, it's me.
It's you?
It's me, Robbie. Got no context there.
It's me, Micah, which is a very awkward way to say that.
Well, now that we've all been introduced, you can find out what kind of show this is, Micah.
What? Hi, guys.
This has got to be the worst intro we've ever done.
This week we're talking about aliens. Technically,
aliens.
it's a continuation of our quote-unquote series. It's been a while, but we did Alien.
We did an episode on Alien
so
a couple weeks ago.
If you want to hear our thoughts on Alien, go check that out. I think Alien's a better movie, but
Indeed.
now we're talking about Alien.
We're going to be talking about the second
more
movie.
than one of them.
The second movie in the Alien franchise.
James Cameron.
James Cameron.
So this will be interesting. I have a lot to say about this because there are two different editions of the movie, and we watched both of them, and I think one of them is very, 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 very superior.
Well, there you go.
And we'll talk about that. But I think first we should go over what we need to know, or what we need to know, what
they need to know
about aliens.
Let's do it.
Alright, so Aliens is a 1986 movie, which you very much feel that it's an 80s movie. It is rated R. It's 2 hours and 17 minutes. The little IMDb description is, decades after surviving the Nostromo incident, Ellen Ripley is sent out to re-establish contact with a terraforming colony, but finds herself battling the alien queen and her offspring.
Nostromo is still such a cool name for a ship. Gotta love it.
The cast features Sigourney Weaver, if you can imagine.
Wow.
I said Michael Biehn, but Robbie said this was wrong.
I said Bine would probably be a better way to pronounce that.
Kind of looks like Michael Biehn to me. Carrie Henn, Paul Reiser, Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton is here, William Hope, and others. Directed by James Cameron. Story by James Cameron, David Giller, and Walter Hill.
There you go.
And do they need to know anything else? Right?
I don't think so. I mean,
do you have any other things to add? Any kind of
fun details?
Cinematographer is Adrian Biddle.
Oh yeah, this is a really well shot movie.
I think he's a cool guy.
Indeed. I can't remember the name of the editor though.
Composer James Horner.
Yeah, apparently James Horner. I was reading up on this movie. Apparently he had a very small window to work on the score for this movie.
Editor is Ray Lovejoy,
yeah.
Editor of The Shining in 2001 and Batman, like Burton Batman.
I was about to say Ray Lovejoy, good editor, as it turns out. But yeah, that's pretty much everything they need to know. I think
that's all you need to know.
There you go.
So, Robbie.
Yes.
What do you think? Oh, and I forgot about this. I should have mentioned that. There's one more thing you guys need to know. Hold up.
Oh, no.
The last thing you guys need to know is that there was a special edition released from this, I think, like 3 years after this movie came out. And according to the little intro by Jim Cameron, hit director. Don't know if you've heard of him.
Might have heard of him.
This was the original version, essentially. This was more closely to what he wanted to put out, but then they cut it down to what the theatrical release of Aliens is, and they cut down a whole 17 minutes of the film, which is a lot.
Is they didn't like rework any of the scenes for the theatrical cut. They literally just chopped stuff out of the special edition, like what I assume is the original cut. You know?
Like, it very much feels
Very
like an original
strange.
cut.
Yeah.
And the first time well, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. What do
Yeah.
you think of the theatrical and special edition, if you could sum it up in brief words?
Of Aliens.
Aliens.
I was pleasantly surprised, I think, by Aliens. Like, for anyone who listened to our Alien episode, I was a pretty big fan of that movie. It's one of my favorite, like, sci-fi movies and horror movies, too. And this one takes it in a bit of a different direction than the first one. It's more action. It's a lot more thriller than horror. I don't know, but it's still a lot of fun. James Cameron, I think, is like a phenomenal director, and like even this early on in his career, which, I mean, most people like Terminator, from what I understand. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, but still, man, this was his third movie,
Yeah.
counting Piranha 2.
I was about to say, counting Piranha 2. It's pretty crazy that he was able to direct something like this and write something like this on top of that. But it's a really fun, well-crafted movie. I think it continues like the general alien overarching story pretty well. I like a lot of the themes that it touches on. I like a lot of the set pieces. I love the xenomorphs in this. Like, I love the visual effects and makeup, and I think it looks phenomenal. I think it sounds phenomenal. And I think it's just a really good time. I love all the side characters too. I'm really surprised always with how well, like, filled out most of James Cameron's movies are when it comes to like side characters and everything. It's very nice. But yeah, it's a good movie.
Did you mention even what I asked, right?
Yeah, no, I know. The theatrical cut, I mean, it feels weird to talk about the theatrical cut after you see the special edition, because the special edition just feels like a much more complete movie.
It just feels like the original cut.
Yeah, I was about to say, it feels like what the movie was meant to be like, because, like, it was edited by a really good editor, and it has a very good, like, rhythm to it.
And oopsie whoopsie, the theatrical cut doesn't.
Exactly,
Does not
yeah.
have a very good rhythm.
Like, there's an attempt to kind of fill the space left by, like, what they take out. Like, they try and recut it to a pretty decent rhythm, but it just ends up kind of choppy and weird. And that, like, even the first time I watched it, I'm like, that it seems like something's missing here. And then literally it was making me laugh when we were watching it last night. Literally every time where I'm like, that was kind of a weird beat when we watched the theatrical cut, but when we watched the special edition after that, anytime I felt that, I was like, oh, they literally cut something out at that point. Like,
right.
It's such a well edited movie and a well paced movie that, like, you could tell something was missing.
No, yeah. So
But what about you, Mike?
So yeah, when I first watched the theatrical cut of this, I was not a big fan. Like, it was good. I gave it a 3.5 the first time I watched it. It was good. But especially being that, like, a lot of people I know of had given this like a 5 out of 5. They've been like, this is so great. Some people I know like it better than Alien.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
And like all this stuff. And I was like, okay, what's all that about? Because I feel like I don't know, I feel a lot more justified about this like, now that I've seen the special edition.
Yeah.
But before I had seen the special edition, I was just like, this is weird. There's something off about this.
Yeah.
I felt like very strongly. You can read my review before I ever watched the special edition. It just felt off. I didn't get connected with any of the characters.
No, and it does feel
The pacing
off.
feels weird.
Yeah.
Everything feels very unset up. A lot of its themes just kind of pop up halfway through the movie.
Yeah, a lot of the setup at the beginning is what they have cut out.
I was just like, this is good. Like, this is a good action movie. It's well shot and everything, and the characters are good. But
so
like,
well shot,
this
man.
is weird. And then I watched the special edition, and kind of similarly to Robbie, every time I felt like something was really weird, or every time I felt like something was thrown in and unset up, literally there were entire scenes cut that set up stuff that made it feel so much more natural, that allowed me to get invested in the characters, that gave Newt more of a character.
Right.
And then like so many editing beats just got to last longer. There was a lot more atmosphere, like a lot more atmospheric shots.
Yeah.
So very like, more reminiscent of the first movie, that allowed the atmosphere to be a little bit more dread filled, kind of what I think Alien should be. Like,
Yeah.
that's just what an Alien movie should have, is like dread filled atmosphere. Again, the side characters awesome, cinematography awesome. It's a lot more goofy than the first Alien, I would say, but
It
it's
is
a
a
James Cameron movie.
It's a bit more like Gonzo filmmaking than
you have
the
Bill
first
you have
one.
Bill Paxton,
Bill
in a
Paxton,
James Cameron movie, so it's gonna be kind of goofy. But I think the special edition of this, although it's still not nearly, in my opinion, as personally good to me, like I just like Alien a heck of a lot better. I think the special edition of this is a practically perfect movie.
Yeah, I would
it's
tend to
just
agree.
so well put together. And only a couple of the effects haven't aged well. On the whole, the effects look outstanding.
Right. It's because most of them are practical, you
And
know?
it sure does feel like an 80s movie.
Right.
But I gave the special edition a 5 out of 5.
I gave both cuts a 5, but
Ooh.
it feels so silly, like, after watching the special edition to give the theatrical cut a 5, because there are just so many, like, glaring problems with it.
That's what I was saying when you gave the theatrical cut a 5.
Well, I mean, when I first rated the theatrical cut, like, I was like, I'm gonna watch it again tomorrow. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt that I would probably enjoy it more the second time, and I did, but also I watched a different cut of it, so
I really want to know.
in reality, the theatrical cut's more of a 4.
A lot of my friends on Letterboxd have given this movie a 5, and I really need to know. There are not very many reviews about it, but I really need to know
That they watched the special
if they watched the special edition or not, or if they're simply wrong.
It really is like a drastically different movie in
Dude,
my eyes.
I feel like the special edition should just be the definitive release.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
it should
Like,
be.
I feel like James Cameron pretty much says as much.
Yeah, no, I feel like you would kind of have to be, I don't know, have a fundamental misunderstanding of the movie if you didn't feel the special edition was better. Like, sure, it's shorter in the theatrical cut, but you miss out on pretty much all of the thematic setup in the first bit.
Dude,
a lot of the plot setup.
a huge thing they cut, which ends up having them cut off multiple scenes later on too. But they cut an entire scene where they set up the fact that Ripley had a daughter before she went on the Nostromo mission.
Exactly.
And now she's been frozen for like 50 something years.
57 years.
So her daughter is now dead.
Yeah, I was about to say
and that's
she died,
like a big. That's a. If you know the movie, that's real important context.
I mean, like, yeah, if the main character of the movie has a daughter that dies, and like that's how you kick off a lot of the plot and like Ripley's character arc throughout this movie, and you just kind of pluck that information out of the movie, it drastically changes her like decisions.
There are even scenes with Newt where she talks about her daughter. Like that was like it's very important to what the movie has going.
I can't believe it got cut out. That's still the craziest change that they made. Like beyond like, oh, you get like more colony set up, you get some like smoother action sequences, you get more ambience. I think that's the most important thing that's in the special edition that isn't in the theatrical cut is that scene where like they establish her dead daughter
and there are multiple scenes afterwards that they cut so short because the dialogue would go on to talk about her daughter.
Right. Oh man, that's some of my favorite stuff in the movie now too.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest complaints that I had with the theatrical cut was especially the daughter stuff, like the Newt stuff. I didn't like it. I felt Newt was completely flat and contrived to be there and had no setup, and now it's just halfway through. Now Ripley is going all like, oh, mother, blah, blah, blah. And Newt was boring and plain and is always like, oh no, I've fallen down this hole.
I was about to say, Newt feels like such a like well-rounded
I was about
character
to say,
in the
but
first, in the actual
in,
special edition.
In the special edition, not only did they set up very well the themes of motherhood for Ripley far before she meets Newt, but they also give a little bit of background to Newt, which makes her feel like a far more fleshed out character.
Like an actual like person.
Also, they cut some of their dialogue scenes, which is crazy.
Right? There's I don't know, anytime it's just Ripley and Newt, they ended up cutting a lot of like their conversations, or at least changing the rhythm of them.
The daughter came up.
Yeah, but like there's a real like sad tenderness to a lot of those scenes that's just not there in the theatrical.
Yeah,
which is
so I ended up
unfortunate.
I ended up on a rewatch actually caring about Newt, and
Right.
actually caring about their relationship. I was like, oh, look, the emotional core works this time. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, no, it really feels. I was afraid like because we had decided to do an episode on aliens and then we watched both editions of the movie. I'm like, I know the episode is just gonna be us like watch the special edition and watch the special.
Well, no, at a certain point, I wanted to like move on from that and just like I was gonna say we're just gonna definitively talk about the special edition if you're okay with that.
Because I don't know, I'm totally fine with that because I would gladly accept the special edition as the definitive cut of this movie.
It's the definitive cut in my mind.
Because like,
there's no way
it's a much more complete movie.
I was going to say it just feels like a complete movie in a way that the theatrical cut does not.
Yeah, and typically I would be like hesitant to like talk mainly about one like specialty cut of a movie, but this one just so plainly feels like the obvious like original version of it,
right?
Before and
again, James Cameron comes in at the beginning
because there's no fat on the special edition.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron. Yeah, so we've been so used to watching all of these editions. We did it with Alien too, because the Alien thing I had
because that had the director's cut. Yeah,
which, as we talked about on that episode, was just a marketing thing. Which they did that with Ridley Scott a lot.
A couple scenes and like shuffled around.
And that's a lot of special editions or director's cuts that you'll see are like they made it to come out with another release.
Just tack on some deleted scenes or
throw
whatever.
in some deleted scenes. Usually they're worse. Usually the pacing is thrown off, the rhythm is thrown off.
Unless you have a really good editor doing the director's cut.
Well, even then, usually if it's a good movie, they did the best edit they wanted in the original cut.
Hopefully,
but in this movie, James Cameron says as much. They did not have the best edit that they wanted as the cut. The studio said it was too long. They had to cut stuff down.
The studio was wrong.
So I feel like this is just like, again, like the definitive.
Yeah. No, it feels like a very whole, complete, no fat cut of the movie.
So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna pause the podcast. You're gonna go track down your local copy of Aliens Special Edition, and you're gonna watch it, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, Mike is so right about this.
Wow,
it is sure so much better than Aliens. I was wrong to ever give Aliens theatrical cut a 5 out of 5. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5. Then come back." And listen to the rest. Now we're gonna talk about the movie now.
Amazing.
So, everybody, do you have a question to kick us off?
Sure. Since this is something we kind of disagreed on, I think. What do you think of Aliens as like a sequel to Alien and like how it handles the xenomorph and like the planet?
Okay, well, that's a very layered question.
Yeah, like
so there's a lot going on.
Okay,
in there.
Specifically the xenomorphs.
I'll break this down. We'll start with question 1 that you present here. What do I think of Aliens as a sequel to Alien?
As a sequel to Alien,
because that was
a very direct.
That was question 1. You asked like 4 questions there. Aliens as a sequel to Alien, I think, is pretty darn sick. Although I would prefer both of them to be more horror themed, it doesn't really bother me that this one is more action.
Yeah.
And with that, it executes it just perfectly to like naturally go into this.
I feel like you can't be mad at it because it's like the perfect action.
I was about to say, I think it's a really, really smart sequel in terms of the expanding of the world, the expanding of the themes.
Absolutely.
I love the direct continuation from like her ship to the beginning. I think the time jump is a really cool thing to make Ripley a bit more of a fish out of water, as well as taking away her license to really make her a very good audience character. Because she was the audience character,
like the stand-in for
the stand-in audience character in Alien, just because she was like the only one left alive, and like the only one we had time to get emotionally connected to, really. But in this one, she very much comes from a more like audience perspective, being kind of fish out of water, who has the opportunity to have seen the first Alien, whereas all the other characters do not.
Wow, much like the audience.
Like the audience, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think I think they do a really good job with Ripley's character to make her very interesting and expand her character a lot. especially with the setup of the daughter. It really adds a lot of depth to her character.
Yeah, it gives her something to do in this one. You know, something to work through and towards, you know?
It gives her something to do. She's completely unhelpful to the whole alien
Well, no,
thing.
not like something like actually to do. I mean, like something as a person, you know?
But, yeah, I don't know. And I think the use to move on to the next little section of that, because I think it's a pretty darn perfect use of it as a sequel, especially how naturally it changes the genre. I forget if this was the next one, but the use of the planet itself is very cool. I like the idea that it would have been like discovered and like, oh, you know, you can imagine that the alien ship had crashed there for a long time before like Ripley and the Nostromo ever found it. So you could kind of assume that this would be pretty dormant unless somebody came in and messed with one of the eggs. Because, you know, they can't do anything unless they have a host.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a really cool thing that like they were like, oh, we went to the planet and they started colonizing it because it was just an empty planet.
Yeah, I really liked the idea of like terraforming it and everything and like setting up an atmosphere. Like, I thought that was so cool.
And I really loved the twist with what's his face that he sent them there.
Right.
I think he's a really fun.
Oh, he's such a fun villain, man.
Yeah, I was about to say really fun like antagonist to this that also subverts your expectations because you kind of assume it's going to be the android again,
right?
With the way he's set up, but then the android turns out to be pretty sick, pretty cool.
I love the android character in this, man.
Bishop. Shout out to Bishop. Crawling like forever in like a little tunnel with his like little hands. He's like,
that's such a funny shot. I don't know why.
But yeah, the use of the planet itself is really cool. I love in the special edition that we get to see the colonists show up and like you get to see the ship again, and I really appreciate that. I think it's a really cool, again, I don't want to keep harping on the differences. I've tried to avoid that. But in the theatrical cut, I was really kind of lacking a lot of like the mystery and wonder and atmosphere around the actual Alien stuff, which I think is very integral for like Aliens as a franchise.
Yeah.
Even with, because I've seen Prometheus as well, and that's a key part of what makes Prometheus work well.
I was about to say the mystique is like half of the draw of Alien as like a franchise, I think.
Yeah, and like that's very much set up in the first Alien, is how much like wonder and excitement and like, again, mystique that they give the mystery surrounding like what are these things. And that's there in this, and I really appreciate that. So I think the use of the planet is awesome. As for the xenomorphs themselves,
baby, because they're a bit more, they're a bit less beany in this one. They're more spiny.
Yeah, I think the design for them is fine. I don't like all their little tendrils. I don't know what's up with that. Like the ones around their head. I think it makes them look a little messy.
They don't look as visually slick as the first one.
Yeah, but I do like that they look less human in a costume, kind of. You know, it still is, but they got a lot more like.
They feel like beasts in this one, dude.
They got a lot more scrunkled.
They're like bounding over walls and like.
But I don't know. I'm not particularly a big fan. Like, I would say one of my least favorite elements that comes from the fact that it's an action movie is the fact that I'm just not that big of a fan of it being like, oh, there's like hundreds of
like they're mowing them down.
Now they're just mowing them down. Maybe they're not the perfect killing organism if like a couple of guns can like mow down like 40 of them.
Well, they are like armor-piercing explosive rounds.
I know. I think it's like probably the one thing that I just agree, like just completely don't
just
like
kind of turns you off to
about the concept of Aliens is the fact that it's a bunch of these guys going in, and I liked the initial like thing because they weren't using guns, and even then the guns weren't very effective. When they first, I like the flamethrowers. I think flamethrowers is good.
The flamethrower stuff is fun in this,
but I'm not a big fan of the actual like rapid fire, huge, massive alien shredding machine guns. And when they're first introduced, you know, they can't use their guns, so you have this really cool scene where the aliens get to do what's cool about the aliens. They get to blend in with their environment really well and do creepy, cool little. I love that. That's what Aliens should be.
You get like 7 insert shots of like the teeth and the lips and everything every time they do a kill.
That's what Aliens should be. I don't think it should be just like a bunch of goofy,
Like a running gun.
running little guys
Yeah.
running towards them as they fire like 1,000,002 bullets. That being said, they still use like with that caveat about my personal dislike, for
Like
the
how they
use of
use
that.
xenomorphs. Yeah.
They actually, in movie, with what they have, use them in pretty fun ways.
Right.
In terms of like the scene, like when they're all coming through the ceiling, that's a really cool scene. Stuff when they use their acid blood very efficiently, like, you know, they're shredding through them now, but when they're shredding through them, their acid blood's going flying. So I like that a sufficient amount of people get hurt by that.
I was about to say, it doesn't feel like consequenceless. I don't know if that's a word, but like there's an actual like consequence to shredding through so many xenomorphs at once, which
Yeah.
I appreciated.
Yeah, I was about to say, I love that, like, anytime they're in, like, a tight spot, no matter what, their first instinct is, like, you know, put a gun close to them and shoot.
Yeah.
Even if they've seen this go bad before, and I really appreciate that. I think that's a cool character moment for, like, how you would actually react in
Right.
these situations.
I was about to say, if you have a shotgun and there's a xenomorph in front of you, you're going to take a
So
shot.
pretty like there are multiple times where a character will like take with one of the guns and like put
Yeah.
it really up close and be like, "Prr," and then be like, "Oh no, I'm getting burnt by acid now."
Right.
And anytime one of them gets close, it's a really cool threat because like once they're that close, there's really not much you can do because even if you shred them, you're probably gonna get acid on you, like the elevator thing.
Oh, I love the elevator, especially in the special edition, because that shot is longer. Like in the theatrical, it's a very short, like you see the xenomorph like barely drop down, and then like he's like jumping out at him, you're like, wow. But then in the special edition, it actually like gives you like the little lead up. You see like a little bit of movement on the ceiling, and then it drops down. It's
Yeah.
that's such a fun beat. I love that one.
No, so with my not a big fan of like the scenes themselves of people just like
Plowing through them, yeah.
like with that, I still think the aliens are handled like as well as they could be in this.
Yeah.
Like with this use of them, it's just not my preferred use of them.
I was about to say, when we were watching the movie, I'm like, this could basically be any alien that has like acid blood, essentially, and lays eggs. Like those are the only two things that make it xenomorph, which is a shame. Like I wish it was a bit more unique.
Well, I mean, the face huggers are important. Like
I was about to say,
the
like
face huggers are important to what they're doing. The fact that they need a host.
I was about to say it uses it to a like justifiable degree. Obviously, I think it should have been an alien movie. You know, like the script. Obviously,
yeah.
But I don't know. I do get what you're saying though. I kind of long for like the first xenomorph like from the movie to return, you know, like not that xenomorph.
Remi's like he could do better.
He could do it. I know he could.
But
Yeah,
like
I get what you're saying though.
I don't know, even like some of the scenes, again, pretty much up until after that first initial attack from the xenomorphs, I think all of the xenomorph stuff is perfect. There's a lot of really good tension while they're going around. I think the first attacks from the xenomorphs are perfectly like, there's a lot of them, but it's really cool the way they're approaching.
I love that
really
sequence,
cool
dude.
how they attack. They feel very intimidating. People you don't know what's going on.
Dude,
It's
I love
very
like, the spiny walls and like I love just how like
right. I love
how much they've taken over
right.
like,
I love
the space.
I love that
It's
they've
so
kind
cool.
of and they don't really explain how they do this, like how they cocoon or how they make all of these like very like spiny looking
Yeah, it starts
structures.
looking like the interior of like the spaceship and everything.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really cool detail for them. Not only does it like operate like as like them making their home more sustainable for themselves, but it also makes me think of like, you know, kind of like a spider thing.
Yeah.
Even though it's not like trapping you in like a sticky substance like they do when they cocoon people, like they're making surfaces that they directly blend into.
I was about to say there's like 4 different kills where they're just like hunched over in one of the pillars or something, and
dude,
they'll just like
literally
slowly curl out.
Literally, they just put their head forward
It's
and they
so
like
cool.
perfectly blend into like anywhere in their section of what they've set up.
And this movie is lit so like dynamically that they always blend so well, and like everything is so clear.
Yeah, it's
And
interesting.
it's
The
great.
lighting in this is particularly interesting in my opinion because I don't think I know another movie that looks quite like this. Like
it's a very dark
Alien
movie.
is really well lit.
Relatively.
And there are dark scenes that are well lit in Alien, and then there are bright scenes that are just very bright.
Yeah.
But this one has this weird feeling of like that it's always dark, but at the same time, what you're watching is always extremely lit up with very white lights.
I was about to say, anytime they're on like the planet, like it always feels like it's like pitch black out, but like everything is always so clearly lit. Like it's
it's very bright,
very strange.
But yeah, everything feels very like that it is kind of dark around them.
Exactly.
And somehow they make that feel pretty natural and
Yeah,
not like they're
absolutely.
just popping stage lights on people.
No, it's like I said, I think honestly, it's visually on par with the first movie.
Yeah,
which
I
is
think it's
crazy.
I think it's different, and again, I think I prefer the visual style of the first one, but
Yeah.
also the visual style of the first one benefits horror a lot more.
I was about to
whereas
say-
the visual style of this benefits action a lot more.
It's a lot more meditative and kind of menacing in the first one, whereas this one's a lot more functional and like kind of speedy would be a better, like it's a lot more movement oriented than
Yeah,
the first
I was
one
about to
is.
say it draws the dynamics of the lighting draw a lot of attention to any movement of the characters,
Exactly,
allowing it to be very visually interesting while they're doing their actions.
I was about to say, anytime characters are moving around, like, I mean, I think just about any frame of this movie, if you pause it, it probably would look great. But, you know, like, I don't know. I always want to praise that, especially in like older sci-fi movies, because, like, I mean, I don't know, visual effects have shifted so much since then, and like every time I watch like a really well lit and like well designed 80s like sci-fi movie, I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, what's very interesting is you could compare this to something like Prometheus again, which Prometheus is really well lit.
Prometheus, dude, that movie looks amazing.
But I do think it's very interesting. Like, and I think, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I think this will always be true that I will 100% always feel, even though the effects are really good in Prometheus,
They're pretty seamless, yeah.
that I would always prefer like a good mix of practical effects.
Yeah.
Cause man, you just can't. And I've seen like the xenomorphs and Alien
In
Covenant
Covenant,
and
yeah.
stuff, and they just aren't. It's like more graphic and everything. Like Alien Covenant is a very, very gory movie.
Yeah.
It's more over the top, more graphic, but the alien itself I don't think is as imposing because it's so like everything's so about the xenomorph feels so
Like
CG,
weightless,
even
yeah.
though they did use some puppet work in Covenant.
What's so crazy is like you'll get like this hulking xenomorph, like even like just the regular xenomorphs feel a bit bigger than in the first movie, but especially the queen is like ginormous.
I think that's just from the way they're shot.
Yeah,
I think they're
yeah.
about the same size,
Probably.
but because of the location and the way they're framed,
It's a lot
because
smaller,
of the location.
yeah.
Yeah, in Alien, they're like they get this tiny little corridor.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I was just blown away at how like large the queen was and how like well the scale works out and everything. It looks phenomenal.
No, I can't. I was gonna save the queen for a bit later
Save
to talk
the
about.
queen,
But the queen
Okay,
is
well, I mean, we
so. Well, I mean, you brought it up.
Okay.
It's better to talk about it naturally than to be like, oh, we're gonna save that for later.
later.
But the queen is so impressive.
Oh my gosh.
That is one of the coolest effects of any creature
Probably
I've ever seen.
dude. Like I don't know how on earth they made it look so good.
Right? Like
It looks phenomenal.
The different movements of its face and jaw pieces look outstanding.
Whoever designed the queen xenomorph deserved an award or something.
when it's running, it looks so cool and goofy, but it constantly looks like it's gonna fall over.
Right? It looks so top heavy that it should like just tip over at any second, and yet it seems so like
I realized I
Imposing.
breezed over something because when you mentioned that, I figured, and I was correct. It did win an Oscar for best effects.
good.
It won best visual effects and best sound effects.
Oh my gosh, dude. As with the first one, the sound design, while not as like central in this one, also sounds very good.
It was also nominated for best lead actress.
Yeah, I know
best
Sigourney
art
Weaver got
direction,
nominated for
best
her
sound,
performance.
best film editing, and best original score.
Good. I
So I was about to
honestly,
say, I'm glad this thing had some juice at the Oscars.
because it's amazing, man. It's so good. But yeah, the queen, love like the fact that she has like 6 arms, and like everything about the queen is like very elegant, but also very grotesque in a way that the regular xenomorph design isn't necessarily.
I've watched, I guess it wouldn't be like a full-on documentary. It would be like a good, like, I don't know, it was probably like 20 minutes of behind-the-scenes stuff
for Aliens,
about
or about the xenomorph.
Well, just the series. It was about the design work and the design artists and stuff they hired to, like, what went into designing the aliens. And there's so much thought and put behind how the aliens are designed, the imagery they're supposed to invoke, and the elegance and yet grotesqueness of them. They're supposed to be very sleek, very like perfect looking,
exactly,
but yet very, very gross, and very, again, the imagery very directly, and everything they talked about was like just straight up there. The imagery is supposed to invoke a lot of sexual assault, which is a very, very big theme even in this movie,
in both movies.
It's just that is an integral part of Aliens as a franchise. And like Sigourney Weaver's character,
absolutely,
the reason she's leading it, I would say.
I mean, I really think it was a stroke of genius to have a female lead for Alien.
If you didn't have a female lead for either of these movies, it would be weird.
It would be very strange.
But their themes directly, I mean, again, the first one is pretty directly, specifically about sexual assault, and this one is specifically about motherhood. So it's very, it's a very female-centric story.
No, it's interesting. And, like, I don't know, the assault themes have always kind of carried over into its anti-capitalist message for me, too.
Which, I mean, they're going for is not, like, they're not mutually exclusive in any way.
Exactly. I was about to say, there's always been some overlap, I think, especially in the first one and in this one, too. I mean, one of the main, like, antagonists of the movie is just the guy who works for the company.
The guy who works for the company. The company's always evil in the Alien movies, Robbie. You can't avoid it.
The company. It's like, I actually thought, I was like, this is just like Jurassic Park for real when I was watching it.
It is. It's that. Which is surprising enough because, like, isn't Jurassic Park a 90s movie? Like,
that was like 90s.
I was about to say
something, I don't remember.
Jurassic Park feels a lot like an 80s movie, but this was late 80s and that was early 90s, so what are you gonna do?
When we got to like the Queen chase and everything, or even just like some of the xenomorph like shootouts, I was like, the tension here is very reminiscent of Jurassic Park.
I guess it's also that kind of thing where Jurassic Park is very clearly like an action thriller.
It's an action thriller. And it's very much the same.
This is very much like in the same exact vein, an action thriller.
I was about to say, it's got like the Parenthood thing going on. It's got like all of the action beats are kind of similar because like you got like big monster, you got kids, you got guns, you got kind of military-ish characters. I don't know. I was watching it.
It's a very similar vibe.
I was watching it. I was like, this is kind of like Jurassic Park if you think about it. You got the like capitalist guy there. Like, I don't know. It's cool. Just an interesting thing. Which, I mean, Jurassic Park and this, I think, are like the gold standard for action thrillers, honestly. Especially sci-fi.
I think Jurassic Park's still better.
Jurassic Park marginally better, but like it would be real close, man.
I just love Jurassic Park a whole lot, though. I mean, it's dinosaurs, Robbie. What are you gonna do? It's dinosaurs.
It's dinosaurs or xenomorphs.
Okay, but the xenomorphs are better in Aliens, so this is not the definitive xenomorph movie. If I want to get xenomorph content, I'll go to Alien.
Dude, still craziest thing that happens in this movie, maybe my favorite scene, I don't know, is like when the Queen like rips the android in half. That is so still cool. That is still like one of the most wild things I've seen in a movie in a while.
how they saved that to like for the android, because I guarantee they couldn't put that into like even a rated R movie back then.
No way.
The only way you could get away with gore like that is like in like the Terminator. It's not a real person. There's no blood and gore,
dude.
Because they were weird about stuff like I don't know. Even into the 90s, they did not let nearly as much gore as we have now in our movies, which may be a bad thing. I don't know.
Who knows?
Just for like a rating standpoint. but I do love the like
That
how
fight
smooth that
is
looks
so,
too, man.
so slick,
Like
man.
it's not like a big build. Like she just picks him up and just whoosh, he is in half, and it looks really fantastic.
So yeah, I was about to say it's such a fluid
It makes-
motion. I don't know how on earth they did it.
I was about to say it makes her way more intimidating for that fight because
Right?
like you see her like hanging
Like,
there with the big
obviously,
egg sack,
yeah,
so you're like,
very
maybe
imposing.
maybe she's just big, maybe she's not
Yeah.
much of a fighter, and then she rips this dude in half in like a split second.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a really smart way to like make her that much more imposing right before the fight. And like because like really all she can do during the Ripley fight at the end is like kind of like chomp and stab at Ripley to little success.
Listen, I think if I was the alien queen, I could be
I was the
I could be Ripley. She needed to aim her tail better.
Just need to like tip it over.
They set up at the beginning of the fight that her tail can very clearly stab.
It's so
And
funny,
if
dude.
she just aimed her little tail
I think-
right where Ripley was.
I think that like little beat of like that insert shot where the tail is like poised and it just hangs there for like a second or two before it stabs forward. I love that.
She just needs to get her tail aiming better.
Right.
Like, come on.
She's out of practice, Micah. She was literally birthing hundreds of babies minutes before, Micah.
Fair enough.
Can you blame her?
Yeah, she's got a lot going on.
All of her babies
Pregnant
just
mother.
died. She's
She's a
wreck.
girl boss.
A girl boss. Oh my gosh.
What can I say?
Uh,
But that fight is really fun and really
man.
impressive, man. I want to see the behind the scenes for that fight because what the heck? It just feels like it feels like the only way they could film that was by getting an actual alien queen and Sigourney Weaver in a mech suit.
right? I don't know how on it. I want to see the behind the scenes for that scene alone. Like all of the sequences in this where there's xenomorphs, it looks insane. But like that one is just a whole nother level just because of how large in scale it is.
Right.
crazy.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, my next question was actually going to be, what is your favorite scene or sequence?
Favorite scene or sequence? Honestly,
I'm like, oh, it's the alien fight at the end. Oi, hoi, hoi.
it's tough to pick one in this because it, as with a lot of like Cameron's movies, it's a very driven like scene to scene.
Yeah, but I think more so than a lot of Cameron movies, this has specific scenes, especially.
absolutely
Like very
yeah.
divided scenes.
There are very much defined like sections of this movie, which is nice. It lends
I was
for a
about
nice
to say, those
pace.
Avatar movies, man, they're practically like a continuous scene sometimes.
Yeah. But I don't know. That it would be tough to pick one out. Honestly, I would probably end up going with the Queen fight just because it's so much fun, and if I can include all of the lead up to that too, like the elevator chase and the eggs and everything, because that stuff
The alien
rocks, too.
queen sequence, if you will.
Yeah.
Its favorite scene or sequence.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, alien queen sequence where they get rescued and then like they land in the bay
That's
and everything.
clearly an awesome part.
It's so
like
cool.
I don't know. I can't see anyone saying that they didn't like that part of the movie. That's when the movie is doing like the movie.
That's like peak action, dude.
But I think my favorite scene, it would probably still be actually this time around the lead up to it too, because I really liked Newt and
Yeah.
everything. And this time around, I
Yeah.
cared about the relationship a lot, so I really liked the little
face hugger scene.
when Ripley comes in and she like finds her under the bed and lays with her under the bed, and it's really sweet,
Dude.
And then the face hugger like horror scene, essentially, because that's like one of the only aggressively horror scenes
That's
we get
the most horror
in
the movie gets, yeah.
And I love that scene. I love too. I think it's because I just like the face huggers so much in concept,
Yeah.
and it's cool to see them fully functioning, because in the first movie, like in Alien, by the time they have like a free roaming face hugger, it is already like laid an egg, which means it's pretty much it's just on its way out. It is dying.
Yeah.
They're like bees. They lay an egg and then they
There. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
so it's cool to see like fully alive, fully like little walk around, guys.
Crazy. I still will stand by that, like, tiny baby xenomorph skittering across the table is better.
No,
but,
yeah,
but the facehuggers are a close second.
I love the tiny, and in fact, actually, in Alien Covenant Rep, you get more of those little guys.
Really?
Yeah.
I love those guys. They torch the first, like, baby xenomorph we see in this one, which is
baby xenomorph.
very cathartic, I think, after seeing the first movie.
Oh, they have a lot of build up around. Like they have Ripley essentially have a lot of PTSD to specifically the chest bursting, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, that's one of the most, like, violent and, like, visceral things about the xenomorph is the chest bursting stuff.
So I think it's cool with how much specific build up they have around chest bursting itself. That, like, the at the moment one of them actually bursts out of somebody's chest, they torch it instantly.
Yeah. I love the little, like, chest burster guys. They're so funny.
So cool.
Also, still shout out to Xenomorph design, because, like, the silver teeth are always so cool.
So good. I was gonna mention with the Alien Queen, I love how extendy its little inner jaw is.
Dude.
It just goes, pew,
it's so funny. I love the Alien Queen so much because, like, she's got, like, the, like, giant crown headpiece and then, like, this totally separate jaw that she, like, reaches around out of it.
Yeah, so it's very
cool.
So if you look at the actual design of the head, it's kind of, again, reminiscent of actual insects in terms of the headpiece is like a separate plate.
It's like a shell
on top of her head, and then the jaw actually moves completely, like not even the jaw, but like the top of her head, like where the eyes are and everything move completely separately of that entire little headpiece. And that's crazy. A really cool design beat.
Yeah, no, I cannot praise the Queen design enough. It's like one of the most evocative, like, alien designs I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't want to harp again. I try not to harp on the theatrical special, but this was one thing that I was like, I knew that shot was there for something, because there's a shot in the theatrical edition where they start to pan down on Ripley's hand going down, and it very clearly looks like it's supposed to evoke the imagery of the facehugger.
It's meant to
the facehugger looks like, I mean, they look like hands. They look like two hands.
Yeah.
And in the special edition, literally they have the colony first finding the aliens, and then they go directly from a shot with somebody with the face.
Yeah, they do a match cut pretty much.
Match cut over to Ripley's hand, and I'm like, I knew it. And it's not like a big thing, but I knew it. Like, because in the theatrical cut, it's so random.
Yeah, well,
it's so just there.
They go from Ripley standing in, like, a white hallway, and they dissolve to the, like, because she's smoking, and, like, the smoke, they pan down, and then it's her hand. It's, I don't know. It's
but
a
it
weird,
feels like it, but it feels like a weird visual beat, because, like, why does, because clearly it's supposed to evoke the facehuggers, but at this point, why?
Yeah. No.
And again, the theatrical edition is like that with everything. Like, now Newt is here, but why? Why does Ripley? Why is all of this motherhood theming stuff funny. Here?
I saw. Again, I was kind of reading the Wikipedia page and everything, and it seems like the studio was like, "Oh, we should cut more stuff at the beginning to leave it more mysterious." And I was like,
"That doesn't work."
No,
the stuff you guys cut was not good. If you wanted to cut stuff to make it more mysterious, you would need to cut stuff later in the movie.
Absolutely, dude.
But then I wouldn't want them to cut much later in the movie. The studio was stupid.
Yeah, no, like I said, special edition just seems like a much more complete movie.
James Cameron just needed to have the reputation and the money that he has now, to where he can just make demands.
I said when we were watching it, I'm like, they didn't have, like, their proper respect for James Cameron as a director yet, but he's like, I don't know, man, he's such a master of, like I said, man, after he blockbuster filmmaking.
They took a chance with Titanic, and after he made Titanic and it made that studio billions of dollars, they were like, you can do whatever you want, James Cameron. Go for it. Go spend 15 years making a sequel.
Dude,
and it pays off every time since Titanic. Not a single one of his movies hasn't made, like, a ungodly amount of money.
I was about to say, I found out that he actually wrote First Blood before he worked on this, on Aliens.
Interesting.
So he wrote First Blood, and he had written like Terminator, obviously.
Yeah. Because the First Blood came out pretty close to this.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
a little bit afterwards. So
But like
I
that
wonder
was
if this was another kind of thing to get a personal project funded again.
yeah, because I was about to say he did a phenomenal job writing this one. And I mean, obviously directing it too. And it always just blows me away, like the amount of just like base understanding he has of everything cinematic, you know?
Yeah, no, he knows how to make a really good, engaging action movie. What can I say?
Dude. He's one of the best there is, I think.
And somehow he pulled that off with Titanic to be like this like romance drama.
Dude, I don't understand how Titanic boggles my brain because every single beat like hits exactly the way I want it to, and yet it's like this weird amalgamation of like a disaster movie and like a romance movie and like a thriller. It's so strange.
Right, and its framing device is weird, and its characters are weird,
But,
and
like,
its ending beat is theoretically weird.
James Cameron just gets it, dude. I don't know how he does it. He just gets it.
I don't know, man. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And this is not my favorite work from him either.
No, I prefer Titanic.
I prefer
marginally.
Titanic, and I prefer Avatar: Way of
You
Water.
prefer Way of Water too. Yeah. I would think I would watch Aliens before I watched Way of Water again, but maybe that's just me. I haven't seen Way of Water in a little while now.
I don't know, man. There's something really magical about Way of Water that
There
I
is.
just love being in way more than I like being in this. If I want, it's like an atmosphere that I really love being in that's alien related again, I'll go to Alien.
You don't have Bill Paxton in Way
You
of
don't
Water,
have,
Micah.
yeah, you don't have Bill Paxton in Way of Water. That is correct. He can't say game over,
Game over,
man. Game over.
I will say his performance in this is like one of the most enjoyable things about this
And
movie.
they cut some of
to
his
me.
dialogue in the theatrical cut.
Dude, some of his like funniest deliveries are cut in the theatrical version. It makes me so sad.
Game over, man.
Game over, man.
I had 4 weeks left. 4 weeks. I love how like tropey he is to that kind of character.
Right.
But he's so funny. His deliveries are selling it so hard.
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask you like what you thought of the side cast in this because I mentioned how much I liked it.
Well, I actually wanted to,
And I didn't
kind
want
of
to forget about
to
it.
kind of go along with that question because I actually wanted to ask you about what you thought specifically of some of the performances in this movie because they're kind of unconventional, but that kind of goes into the side cast. I really love the side cast. I don't know how they do it. But they do a really good job of like making you feel very much that all of them have unique characters. Like
They're all
each of
so
them.
well defined.
I was about to
yeah.
say you know each of them beyond just like one little goofy trait of each of them. You know, they feel like actual characters,
Right.
And they're allowed to be given really cool beats with each other. I really love What's His Face is allowed to be given some like good connection beats, not even inherently romantic, but like kind of feeling romantic with Ripley. Like that's such a cool thing because
Yeah.
like it just feels so natural for
It makes that character infinitely more interesting, yeah.
Without that, he would be kind of boring,
Yeah.
and with that, it just feels so natural for people in that position. They had like a mutual respect for each other, and they needed something to like take their mind off of it. So they make some jokes about it. They actually feel like a little connection with each other. Like it's very cool. And like a lot of the side cast has stuff like that, save for the ones that die off in the initial xenomorph attack.
I was about to say they're all like a lot of the main side characters are able to have like different fears and like different strengths and everything. They don't just feel like generic.
I was about to say,
grunts.
and they actually have like relationships
Exactly,
with each other.
yeah.
They're not just like, oh, we are part of a little troop together.
Little team.
We're just a little team.
I was about to say they all seem to have like these, and I don't understand how you could write it this layered. Like it would take so much work. But like they all have different dynamics with each other, like the way they speak
like
to
each
one
individual
another. Yeah.
one has like a different dynamic with each other.
It's crazy. That's just good screenwriting.
I was about to say
man.
it feels very, very natural, and,
And
it makes
good acting,
and it makes
too,
them really cool. But I wanted to bring up their performances actually, because I would say that their performances, even like Sigourney Weaver's performance in this one comparatively, they feel over the top. Not in like a way that damages the movie,
Yeah.
but like it's just weird to me.
They
Like,
feel a bit cartoonish.
like the direction was interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was about to say they feel a bit cartoonish, but like honestly, I wouldn't want it to be any less than that. like, oddly enough, it doesn't seem like it should work in my brain.
Yeah, exactly. That's
then,
what I'm
like,
thinking while watching it.
Imagining a more subdued version of a lot of these performances, like, it would lose a lot of its personality and, like, urgency, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like even some of like the screams and stuff, even like Bill Paxton's scream during the little knife thing in the cafeteria scene, like it's very just like it's goofy, it's weird.
Yeah,
people don't actually just randomly scream like that, but there's like it just for some reason works.
It works, yeah. Like, I don't know, the established like a tone of the movie doesn't feel like it should work, but then it does. Like, all of the, and again, it's probably a combination of great writing and a good cast and a good director, but like it just all meshes really, really well and doesn't feel out of place. But yeah, there's a lot of like weirdly, like almost over the top,
very, very 80s feeling. I feel like that's just 80s.
Yeah, I was about to say this is that's
mid 80s, the most 80s thing feeling about it.
Mid 80s action movie. You get a lot of like caricatures. That's the syllable I was looking for. Thank you. But of like people, but it never feels like less than human. Like, they all still feel very well rounded and relatable and like fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's a staggering achievement, honestly. And again, I think like it's pretty much a perfect movie. It's crazy.
There isn't much I outside of, again, I could go on more about stuff I have problems with in the theatrical cut, but as for the special edition, I really like. I don't have a problem with
flawless,
it. I have like, it's not my personal favorite thing in the world, but I definitely like I don't have a problem
for what it is. Like, honestly, what on earth would you change? Yeah,
it's executing everything so well, and it's so well written. Like, just literally, again, like even down to the side characters working as well as they do to feel natural, which is a hard thing to do with a military squad. Mm-hmm. Most of them are going to die kind of movie.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, I honestly. James Cameron, every time I watch one of his movies, I grow like a little more respectful of him as an artist.
He's not my favorite director or writer by a long shot, but he is a genuinely really talented
He's a
guy.
master of his craft, man, let me tell you. And even this early on, I cannot wait to watch Terminator. Like, I'm so pumped for it now.
But yeah, I don't have particularly anything more to say about Aliens.
Yeah, no, the side characters are really the last like major thing I wanted to talk about. I mean, there's a bunch of like small technical details that you could go on about, like some of the VFX and like some of the lighting and like some of that stuff.
Oh, we talked about VFX.
Yeah, no, like already. Yeah, generally, but I mean, like there's some like specific, but like nothing major enough that I'd be like, oh, we got to go back and talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was a pretty natural. Natural wraparound. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Comment below what you think.
Oh my gosh.
Can they even comment on most podcasting platforms? I don't know.
If you're listening on Spotify, there will be a question box that you have, and you can also give us your rating of Aliens on Spotify as well.
Give us your rating. Check out or you can comment on our
like review.
Letterboxd HQ page. We do a little review every time an episode comes out, and you guys can have a little discussions in there
if you wish,
and we will discuss with you. It'll be cool.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just go on Letterboxd and search recently logged, and you'll see the little HQ.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you want to discuss with us anything about any of the movies we talk about, just comment it on the recently logged diary entry of any of the episodes.
I was about to say, if it's episode specific, you can do the diary entry, or there's like a general discussion board in the comments section of our like master list of episodes.
So yeah, do that.
Pretty cool.
And we will be happy to discuss why the theatrical version of Aliens is trash and should be burned
in every way.
And there should be no releases of it.
It's literally just a butchered version of the special edition. It makes me sad.
But yet again, I gave the special edition a 5 out of 5 and the theatrical cut a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I've always followed the policy of like, I'm gonna rate whatever the best version of the movie is in my mind. So I've given Aliens a 5 out of 5. But I mean, I honestly think,
well, this movie is very flawed, but I can imagine a better version of it, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
Like, I honestly think Aliens, the theatrical version, is probably a 4. But like Aliens, the movie as a general project, it's a 5. Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into our What We Watched segment.
Let's do it.
All right, so those of you who are new to the podcast or have just never listened this far, the What We Watched segment, wow. If I could speak, I have not been able to speak today, is a section we do at the end where we just talk about everything that we've watched in between our episodes, give brief ratings, brief little thoughts on them, just to keep things interesting, to talk about a little bit more of a broad selection of movies than what we can talk about by doing individual episodes.
Yeah.
So we are going from the 21st, which was our last episode, anything after we released the episode that day.
I was about to say March 21st, 2023, baby. Here we go.
Very specific. What did you watch, Remy?
I watched 2 Scream documentaries about like the Scream franchise and everything.
Well, some of us were working. Robbie was watching Scream documentaries.
I was working. I watched them while I was working, so take my ratings with a grain of salt. But I watched Scream: The Inside Story first, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's very like TV broadcasty, which was unfortunate, but like, it was still relatively interesting. And then I watched Still Screaming, the Ultimate Scary Movie retrospective, which was a lot like sleazier feeling, and like, I don't know, not as informative. So I don't know. It was weird, but like, it was still all right.
Was it like that one Disney documentary where they're like, and this is the table that Walt Disney sat at, and like that's the entire documentary.
It was a lot more.
Instead of being like, here's interesting stuff, they're like, whoa, Walt Disney.
Yeah, that's kind of, it feels a lot more like fanboy-y, which is not a good look in my mind. But I gave it the same rating. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5.
But that was in preparation for what we were planning on doing that very night, which was running out to the theaters.
We sprinting to the theaters.
No one could stop. In our Ghostface masks, and we watched Scream 6.
Scream 6.
The newest Scream installment. Shout out to Stab 8. But Scream 6 was the direct sequel to Scream 5. If you can imagine.
Who would have thunk it?
And I loved it. I thought it was really great.
It's phenomenal.
To be fair, this was the first Scream movie I've ever actually caught in theaters.
Yeah.
Dude. So like I wanna watch it again to like really confirm how I feel about it in terms of my overall thoughts of the Scream series. Because like watching a Scream movie in theaters is just so electric.
So cool.
How are you not going to have a good time?
Right. I was about to say, even the worst Scream movie, which I think is probably 5, I would still love to see in a theater.
Yeah. But I don't know. I really liked. I think this movie is very well shot. I think it looks good. I think its editing is a little wonky sometimes.
Editing is a little weird.
Yet again, which was a problem in the first movie.
Yeah.
I love this cast though. I love the change of location. The use of New York is actually really, really great.
Yes.
And my only other big complaint about it in general is I think the Ghostface reveal is kind of stupid. But at this point, I just don't like. How is it not going to be stupid?
Yeah,
there's 6 movies in. I just wish they would have like a Ghostface kind of like, oh, it's just a completely new kind of ghost, like not like a new kind of Ghostface, but like something finally not connected to the stupid Woodsboro original stuff.
Like honestly, I think as like a connected Ghostface would go, like I think this is honestly the best case scenario.
Yeah, for what they're going for in this movie, but still, I'm not the biggest fan of the Ghostface reveal in this, but the actual Ghostface stuff in this movie is so much fun.
It rules, man. It's so much fun. There's like so many fun set pieces. There's so much fun direction and like fun sequences. It's just a blast. It's a really fun movie.
The main cast is really, really fun in this.
I
love the 4 mains plus the little side guys that are here too. It's really great. I really enjoyed this.
It's so much fun.
It's still not my favorite, but I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I also gave it a 4 out of 5.
I think
it's a blast.
I think I put it at like number 4 in my Scream ranking.
I actually have it at number 3. I have like
Does that mean you have it above Scream 2, Remy?
No, I do. I have Scream 1, then 4, and then 6.
That is a mistake. It
1,
should
4,
be 1,
6.
4, 2,
Then 6. Wow, such a drastic difference. I can't believe how foolish I was.
You're so foolish. What did you rate it, though?
I give it a 4 out of 5.
Cool.
It was very cool. On the 22nd, I went out to one of the advanced screenings.
Going to advanced screenings.
Ooh, Focus Features. I got like a promo code thing from the Atlanta Film Society, and I was able to watch a screening for 1001, which is a new-ish. I mean, I guess it's new. Yeah,
It's
I don't know why I
it's
said
not
new-ish.
it's not even out
Not
in
even
theaters, and it's already ish to Remy.
That's why
It's
I was like,
new-ish.
that's why I was like in my brain, like, well, it's not really new, like it's not even out yet, but yeah, it's called 1001, directed by A.V. Rockwell. Pretty cool. It's got some fun performances. Like, I would definitely recommend checking it out if, like, I don't know, like intimate dramas are your kind of thing, because this is a really, really good one. It's very well directed, very well written, very well shot too, I will say. I got seeing it in like a ginormous theater was really nice for this. I feel like seeing it like on a TV or something isn't really going to do it justice visually.
It's not going to do it justice.
There's a lot of like really good emotional beats. There's a lot of nice subtleties in the writing. Again, it uses not quite in the same way as Scream 6, but it uses New York as a very cool location for it. And I really enjoyed it. It was a great time. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. I think it's a great movie.
That's crazy.
It's called 1001. Go check it out if you want to.
Then on the 23rd, I watched, technically this was the night of the 22nd.
Yeah.
I just watched it really late. I watched Submarine, which was suggested to me by somebody. I didn't write these things
Some
down.
random person.
I
don't know
did
who
this
it was.
I did this little Twitter thing, which was like suggest me 12 movies, one for each
Month of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was my March one.
Who'd have thought?
And I really loved it. I think it's genuinely a smart little coming of age comedy that has it sets itself up well to be like kind of like the closest thing I honestly can compare it to is Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but like for young adults, which is goofy to say, but the main character is pretty much Greg Heffley. You follow this guy who's not really a great person, who has like these delusional visions and stuff, while also trying to influence the life of people around him while his life kind of goes crazy.
Yeah.
His relationships and parents and stuff like that. Things, yeah. But it's really, really fun. I think it's really smart and goofy, and I like what they go for. I think the writing is really surprisingly well-rounded. I think the actual main character, Oliver, is like a really well-written main character. I think it's like Greg Heffley, but again, like well-rounded as a human character.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just really loved it. I got like really emotional by the end. I really appreciate what it's going for. I think it's shot really nice. What can I say? It's my kind of. I'm a sucker for a really good coming of age movie.
Who'd have thought it?
And I thought this one was funny and smart and really engaging.
Well, there you go. I'm looking forward to it. I was kind of hesitant because I had heard a lot of people say it's kind of an off-putting movie.
It is kind of an off-putting movie,
but I'm a little more excited for it.
But I think in a good way.
It should be.
I think the thing most people would probably find off-putting about it is that like all of the characters are kind of bad people.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
But I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Wow, pretty high praise.
Pretty high praise.
Then on the 23rd, we sat down and we watched John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum.
In preparation for we still haven't made it. We want to catch 4 in theaters. We gotta go see it in theaters. But John Wick Chapter 3.
Parabellum.
Easily my favorite of the John Wick movies so far.
Dude.
I think it's probably the series so far at its technical best, and its action best, and its story best.
Yeah.
It's still not quite as emotional as the first one, but this one actually does a really good job of being more personal feeling than 2 does. And it's letting itself completely cut loose.
Right. I was about to say, I love the action in this. I loved the addition of Asia Kate Dillon.
Yeah.
A lot of fun in
they're
this.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was about to say, one of my favorite performances in the whole franchise. And I mean, like, it's just...
Oh well, I
Amazing.
I would guess that would be spoilers. I was about to say, do they die in the movie? Because I wanted to know if they'd be in 4.
The spoilers, Micah.
I don't remember though.
Do you want me to tell you? I
I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
the choreography of this one is outstanding. Like literally, there's stuff in this that I'm like,
How on earth
How
did
do you
they do
play?
it?
How do
Yeah.
you like there's this one fight towards the end where it's like John versus like 2 guys with knives, and I have no idea how they choreograph it to feel as natural as it is, while John is like barely holding on to overpower these 2 guys and fighting like both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's just a very, very impressive movie. It's lit extremely well. Again, it continues on very natural world building for
Right.
this series.
Yeah.
There are some things that I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't think it's like a perfect movie, but I do think it's probably one of the best just straight action movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, dude, it rules. But I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it a
think
4.5
I think
out of
it's
5.
awesome.
Then on the 23rd, later that day, we watched The Cabin in the Woods.
The Cabin in the Woods.
I
I always think
rewatched
it's just called Cabin in the Woods, not The Cabin in the Woods.
Well, everyone just refers to it as Cabin in the Woods typically because that's faster.
yeah.
But The Cabin in the Woods, this was like my 3rd time watching it. And really that's because I've been interested to watch it with people who hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
And didn't really know what was happening.
I didn't
going
really
into
know
it.
what on earth would go on like in the movie. I knew it was like a horror movie to a degree, but like kind of funky, and yeah, that's generally what it is.
But yeah, I think I've talked about it before. I think it has
Yeah, you
issues, but I think a lot of its issues kind of they can be glossed over if you're watching it with like people and are just having fun.
Yeah, it's a very Drew Goddard kind of movie.
Yeah.
If you've seen Bad Times at the El Royale, it's very similar vibe.
And it's a very Joss Whedon dialogue filled movie.
I was about to say it's kind of like the perfect blending of their like 2 styles. Not always in a
Buffy is the perfect blending of their 2 styles, since apparently Drew Goddard worked on Buffy.
I mean, yeah, like that too. But like, I don't know. This one feels a lot more Drew Goddard-y because he like actually directed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's cool, but it also like has like the same problems as a lot of their combined works do.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like it takes too much time to over explain everything and like the world and the mechanics of everything. I'm like, come on, guys. It's not that complicated. I think you need to give us a little more credit as an audience.
Right. I actually didn't like this movie the first time I watched it by myself, just because of how much it feels like it has to baby you, even
Exactly.
though it's a baby mode concept.
I was about to say baby mode movie already, and then they're like holding your hand through the entire last third of the movie. I'm like, come on, guys.
But yeah,
give me some credit
you
here.
can kind of ignore that on rewatches.
Yeah.
And if you're having fun with people especially who hadn't seen it before, I think it's really fun.
It's still like a really fun, subversive, like horror shenanigans kind of movie.
A shenaniganizer.
Shenaniganizer, exactly. And I think it works in a really cool way as like a somewhat blunt metaphor for like film production and everything, which again, pretty obviously, but
Very Drew Goddard thing.
yeah, very Drew Goddard. I liked it. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5.
I also gave it a 4 out of 5.
Wow, that's so cool, Micah.
Then up next, what did you watch, Rebby?
I watched a little ditty called Vortex.
A little ditty?
It feels wrong to refer to a Gaspar Noé film as a little ditty.
Yes, my favorite constructor of little ditties.
Right. But yeah, it's Vortex, which I believe is his latest movie. It came out in 2021, but it stars Dario Argento, which is pretty cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it until I started the movie and his name came up in the credits. I was like, oh, that's crazy.
It's the Argento man up to these days.
But yeah, apparently giving good performances in this movie, you know? But yeah, it is, for those who don't know what Vortex is, it uses a lot of split screens. It's kind of a drama about like this old couple who live together in an apartment. I don't know. It's very cool, very sad. Like I did not expect it to be so emotional. Like the split screen gimmick, I guess you would call it, feels like it would kind of take away from some of the, like undercut some of the emotional beats, but it actually serves it really well at pretty much every turn. So I was pleasantly surprised. I think it handles its themes of like drug abuse and memory and like love and everything in a very interesting way. And I think it's a phenomenal movie. I think everyone should give it a try if they're up to it.
Wow, there you go. He thinks everyone should give it a try.
And I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. It's not quite there entirely. It's a very like contemplative movie, but I think it's really great for what it is. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
Then
Great
up
movie.
next on the 25th, we watched The Departed. The Departed. This was a rewatch for me. First watch for Robbie.
Yeah. First time seeing The Departed.
The Departed, Robbie.
Oh my god.
You can't say The Departed.
The Departed. Yeah.
What a goofy movie.
What a fun movie.
It's probably, in my opinion, one of the weaker Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
But solely just because I don't think it balances its tone as well as it could, and that's like it. That's like literally
That's the
probably my
criticism
only
of it,
problem
yeah.
with it. It's so much fun. And like all the performers and actors are giving really fantastic performances. Matt Damon is really fun in this for some reason.
Matt Damon rules in this, dude.
DiCaprio is really fun. Nicholson.
I was about to say
is
Jack
insane.
Nicholson is a great actor as usual.
For some reason, Mark Wahlberg is even fun in this.
Mark Wahlberg is giving like the other guys in this, just so funny to me.
But it's just a goofy little movie. I love how absolutely insane the premise is, like as it goes on, just how goofy levels it takes it to.
I had no clue what The Departed was about, outside of like the little plot summary you gave me, and I was like, "This is crazy. What the heck?"
Robbie, it's about the Catholic Church. If you could even believe
You
it
can
from
believe that a
Scorsese.
Scorsese movie would be about the Catholic Church. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
The Catholic Church via a metaphor about the mob. Who would have thought?
Where have I heard that before?
But I love it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's
a blast.
really good.
Yeah.
It's weird that it's the most Oscar award winning Scorsese movie and the only one he's ever won Best Director for.
That's crazy.
But at the same time, it's still a really fantastic
like-
movie, and I can see it being popular with mass audiences.
Yeah, I was about to say I can't really like criticize it because it's a pretty like flawless movie by all accounts, like from a technical standpoint. But like it just didn't connect with me as much as I wanted to, and it's partially I think because of its tone. But
Yeah, it just never has the tension it needs to. But I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5,
No 5s.
which is I think it's funny that I followed it up with something that I gave a 5.
I think you'll appreciate it more on a rewatch.
Yeah, probably.
Up next on the 25th, I watched Inglourious Bastards.
Oh my.
The Quentin Tarantino movie.
Quentin Tarantino.
If you can imagine.
Yes, I can't imagine.
This is another one. I think this was like the 7th. I don't know.
I don't know. You're watching so many of his movies,
I
dude.
think that's too many. I think it's like the 6th or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I only have a couple more of his movies that I haven't seen. But this one we had for a while, and I was very interested. I had heard very good things. I know a lot of people who it's like their favorite. And I could see why. It's really, really fantastic.
Nice.
I think especially for like a mass audience kind of situation, it is probably like best case scenario of all of Tarantino's tendencies.
Good.
Like all of his really over the top violence is great here. All of his very Hollywood-esque writing styles really work well here. Because of the nature of the story, you avoid a lot of his more gross, problematic tropes. And I don't know, it's very cathartic. It's very fun. It balances its tone extremely well. It's very well paced.
Cool.
It pulls off like a multi-part coming together at the end revenge kind of quest.
That's difficult
in
to
a
do.
very cool way. And I love how goofy it is in its ending. Like how over the top they take its ending. It's very cathartic. It's very cool. One of the best movies having to deal with Nazis that I've ever seen.
You got them all ranked, apparently. Green Room's right up there.
Well, that's neo-Nazis, right? It's a different category.
Wow.
You know, like they're both as bad.
That's
but
funny.
You gotta you
Gotta draw a line.
Your neo-Nazis and your Nazis.
Wow.
But no, this rocks a lot. It's not my favorite, but it is one of, I think, his best. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
There you go.
I feel like that's a must watch of just movies.
Oh, wow.
Like I think that is one of like just the best.
Wow, okay. I mean, I was excited for it before, but I mean, I guess I need to put some priority on it. Yeah, sounds cool. And then after that, we watched a little film called Shaun of the Dead
Shaun of the Dead.
for the very first time.
The British people.
Never seen it before, but the British, they sure can make a comedy, let me tell you.
It's my second Edgar Wright directed movie.
I think this is a pretty brilliant like genre blend. Like I was impressed at how well like it handles its horror tropes and like comedy tropes at the same time.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
I really love what it's doing. A lot of the time, I think it's really, really funny in the first
so funny,
like 30
dude.
minutes. It's like like nonstop laughs.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with it is like after it becomes. I mean, you'll hear this from most people who talk about this movie. After it becomes like full on zombie, it kind of loses a lot of its like back-to-back humor and feels a little unengaging in terms of a zombie movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still like there's still really good humor worked into it.
I was about to say the visual like flair and flavor that Edgar Wright always brings to his projects is still there in the like last third of the movie, which is the most boring part of the movie, but it's still a very engaging watch for me.
And I do kind of agree with Yossi's review. Friend of the podcast, Yossi, go check out the Princess Bride episode.
Yeah.
Where he describes that it kind of feels like it's nothing. He says nothing about it feels cheap, and it seems to use the budget incredibly well. But it does have a sense of reaching further than its means,
yeah.
which I would agree with, and I don't know why I would agree with that. Like, because again, it's pretty small scale.
From like a theoretical standpoint, like the whole holding up at the bar thing makes sense, but like it does. Yeah, I think that's probably where I get that feeling the most.
Yeah,
It's like because they're
really,
at the bar for so
I was about to
long.
say, it really doesn't make that much sense for them to go to the bar and then they spend like most of the time of the movie.
Yeah,
at
they
the
spend
bar.
well, not most of the time in the movie.
I know, but like it feels
They
like
spend like a good 20 or 25 minutes at the bar, which is a lot of the movie.
for a location that doesn't really bring a whole lot of comedy with it or
Yeah.
a lot of interesting tension as a location in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. No, I think with just like a different location choice for the finale, I think you could have had a slightly more interesting movie, but I think it would have just been marginal. I think it's
Yeah.
a fun time.
I think
regardless.
it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing in the world, but when it's really funny, it is really, really funny.
Simon Pegg is so good.
Simon Pegg and Nick
Oh
Frost.
my gosh.
Great stuff.
Like I was blown away at how good his physical performance and vocal performance was in this. He's amazing.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5. Okay. I'm like Departed, not quite there. Shaun of the Dead, easy
Yeah,
5.
I don't know about that one, Ravi. Then on the 26th, I tuned in. It was technically the same day, just later that night. I tuned in to the hit American comedy.
Whoa.
21
Show
Jump
some
Street.
pride for the old USA.
This is
baby.
this is my American pride. It's 21 Jump Street.
How a 21 Jump Street made me a nationalist.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller coming out with this is I think the first live action movie I've seen from them. I mean they haven't actually
haven't done that
directed
much,
very many
yeah.
movies. I mean I've seen Lego Movie. I've seen
that was
Five
their
Nights at
first
Meatballs.
live action movie.
Yes. And man, it's so much fun. I love 21 Jump Street. I think it's this actually is like back to back just funny.
I can't wait to watch it, dude.
And the cast with especially Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, I really like the two of them as comedic actors a lot, and in this they work really well together.
Nice.
Along with like the rest of the side cast being really goofy and fun.
I was about to say the two of them are really good actors, but they get paired with annoying material sometimes.
And I mean, there are some things that could easily fall into some annoying writing tropes,
Yeah.
like especially with our friendship, where they kind of have like a downbeat of, oh, now they're not friends anymore.
The
But,
third
like,
act breakup.
yeah,
kind
the
of
third
thing.
act,
Oh,
the third
no.
act breakup, but it lasts like 12 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, like the entire drama around it in general.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really just love what it's doing. I love Phil Lord and Chris Miller's writing a
Oh my
lot.
gosh.
And
They're just
while
so
they're
funny,
probably
dude.
a little bit stronger directors in animation, they're just as good at like making this just a really memorable, really fun movie. And I
can't
cannot
wait to see
wait
it.
to watch 22 Jump Street.
I have a sinking feeling that like the Jump Street movies are going to be like all-time favorites of mine when I finally get around to them, because
They're
they seem
so-
like such like in my realm of comedy.
They're so funny. I love it. I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Very nice, very nice.
And then we watched Aliens, and then we watched Aliens.
Wow, can you even believe it? We watched Aliens twice.
2 times. That's
Two
so
whole
crazy.
times. That's like as many Alien movies that we've covered on the podcast. That's crazy.
But yeah, that's what we watched this week.
That's what we watched.
Some good movies. Yeah, go watch some good movies.
watch some good movies,
Go
yeah.
watch a Scream movie.
Go watch Scream 6, dude.
Go watch Inglourious Bastards
If you're up to it,
if you're
man.
up for any of these. I realize that most of these
Yeah,
are actually
we watched all rated R
yeah,
movies.
literally
over
every
the
movie
past-
I went over that is rated R. I'm sorry, mother.
But yeah, no, there's some great stuff this time around. Go watch the special edition of Aliens if you've never seen it before, because it's definitely worth your time. If you love Aliens, like the theatrical cut, you're gonna love it even more, I think. But yeah,
Go check out Submarine. See what you think of that. It's probably like the cleanest movie on this list.
really,
Yeah.
that's funny. But yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.